You're listening to episode 254 of the Small and Supercharged podcast with Ria Freeman. Well, welcome to today's episode of the Small and Supercharged podcast. I am delighted to be joined by Niki Baxter, who you may know better as Baxter Equine Services. Niki is the one who is incredible at all things grooming. Her plaits are legendary, her grooming is legendary, her clips are legendary. I'm very jealous of your skill, but we're going to talk about all sorts today, aren't we, Niki?
Yeah, I'm very, very excited to be with you. I feel like a total stalker because I've listened to you for so long, and I finally get to chat with you. So I hope this will be quite an interesting, kind of sideline from the normal grooming stuff I tend to do.
Well, I feel like a stalker for you as well. I like those satisfying videos you see on social media where people do a process beautifully, and yours are absolutely mesmerizing.
Thank you.
So we're mutual stalkers. It's all good.
Yeah, cool. Okay, I don't feel as weird now.
No, it's all good. It's all good. So can you tell us a bit about what you do as a job? Because obviously social media and showing what you do is one thing, but what do you do day in, day out as a job, and how did you get into that?
So day to day, I do a tiny bit of yard work for a lovely lady who she's a retired doctor and has a couple of horses at home. And I very fortunately get to keep my horse at the same yard. So I do a little bit there, and then the rest of my day is traveling around different yards, like mostly clipping. I do a wee bit of plaiting. And I now do quite a bit of like kind of content creation for social media for either myself or brands. So it's pretty varied, but it's all very like it all ties in together really well.
Definitely. And how did you get started with, particularly with the grooming and the plaiting side?
So I kind of started it in Pony Club. So I would have been about like 9 or 10. And I was always like, I just had a bit of a like kind of natural knack for it. And I ended up being the person that always plaited the horses or always clipped the horses on whatever yard I've worked at. And like I've been mostly eventing, a wee bit of show jumping yards. And in 2016, I took a year out, moved to Japan, and I was a freelance English teacher there. When I came back, I decided I really, really liked being freelance. Like I love working for myself. So I thought I'd give freelance horses stuff a go. And clipping and turnout was what I was good at. So it sounded like a good place to start. And that's how I kind of picked up on that. So that was 2017 I started. And I've been doing that since.
I didn't realize you'd been over to Japan for a year. Was that amazing?
Oh, absolutely phenomenal. Everyone has to go to Japan at some point. It's definitely like a bucket list country. It's absolutely beautiful, really easy to get about, really clean, food's amazing. It's not all fish. It's stunning.
So you started 2017 with being that freelance groom with the super skills in plaiting, clipping. When did you get on social media? Because at the time of recording, according to my research, you've got over 51,000 followers on Instagram and just shy of 60,000 on TikTok, with I think your total views are about 1.1 million on there. So when did that all start?
So I'd started Facebook and Instagram initially for like advertising my business, which I'm based in Glasgow in Scotland, so I've only got like I can only clip so many horses in this area, and I've only got so much time to do it. So it was more to just advertise what I was doing. And I started posting a couple of videos of me doing stuff like just for slightly different content. A few of them went pretty viral, and I started getting like a lot more attention. Brands started contacting me asking if I'd do some work for them or send me products and stuff like that. So that kind of spurred me on a bit to like keep making videos, and then people were asking for tutorials, and it all kind of kicked off in, I'd say, like kind of towards the end of 2018, start of 2019. And then it kind of became more of a thing for me to do the content creation.
And you said before that you do content creation for yourself, but you also do it for other brands. How does that work? 'Cause I guess the beauty of that is that obviously you're already doing it, but because it's just you, it's difficult to scale, I think, sometimes when it's just you who are doing quite a physical job, because as you say, there aren't only so many hours in the day. So
Mhm.
doing the content creation, although it's still you, it's got the ability to grow in different ways, hasn't it?
Oh, definitely, yeah. So a lot of the brands, I actually say no to probably like 95% of the inquiries I get. But it tends to be if I use a product or products from a certain brand, I tend to tag what I use in the posts. And like a lot of the stuff I tend to buy with my own money as well, but brands will obviously see it and they sometimes contact me and say like, oh, we'd love like a kind of proper tutorial on how to use this product, or can you try these ones out and give us some feedback? So that tends to be more of what I do. I don't tend to, I get inquiries from brands saying, oh, can we send you these products and you make a video? But they obviously expect it all to be like very positive and advertising for their company, but it might not necessarily be products that I would use or recommend or buy myself. And if it comes under any of those categories, then I wouldn't make content for them. It
No,
has
and
to.
I know I've talked about this a few times before with different people that have been kind enough to come on, but that integrity from a content creator point of view is so important, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. Like it would be so easy, not just for myself, I'm sure other content creators as well. You could totally sell yourself out and just keep advertising over and over again. And that's not what your followers want to see. Like they just feel like you're constantly kind of plying them with go buy this, go buy this, go buy this. And like it annoys me when I see it from other content creators. So I definitely wouldn't want to do that to my audience.
I think it erodes trust as well. If you're saying this is the best just because you're here, I'm going to go plaiting spray one day, and then the next day this is the best plaiting spray, and then the next day this is the best plaiting spray. As an audience person, you're like, what is the best plaiting spray? What should
Yeah,
I get? You don't know anymore, do you?
no, definitely not. And I find like a lot of the brand ambassadors, this is more specifically for grooming companies. I
Mm.
tend to find they have brand ambassadors and they say like, right, you can't advertise any other grooming products. Whereas I use it like it's a bit like your makeup bag. I'll have so many different products from different brands for different reasons
Yeah.
because they work better on certain hair types, or that one's got a better whitening shampoo than that brand, and that one's hair wax. I don't like the bottle it's in. I prefer this. Like there's various reasons for buying from different brands. And I kind of hate seeing people stuck with one brand because that's not really how it works.
No, I mean, just thinking of my of the feed reading, I've got kind of lotions and potions and shampoos and sprays and all sorts, hoof products.
Mm-hmm.
They're by lots of different brands.
Yeah,
Because you either get recommended one and you stick with it, or it doesn't necessarily mean that the rest of the range isn't great. It's just you have your favorites as well, don't you?
yeah, oh, definitely. Uh-huh.
So this has obviously grown, and you have got some videos that have done incredibly well and are definitely well in the viral area. So what do you, because you said you had some before that had gone sort of viral. So at what point do you deem a video to have gone viral, or content?
Uh, so I don't know if there's like a proper scale on it, like in terms of like if a video hits so many views that is classed as viral. But in my head, I'm like, right, if it kind of gets towards like 5 million views, I'd say that's pretty viral.
Yeah, no, that
Um,
makes perfect sense. I
I
think it can
think,
depend, actually, depending on the size of your following as well.
oh, definitely. I like if you've got 10,000 followers, like probably 1 million would be like viral to you. Whereas, yeah, if you have 100,000 followers, a million's nothing. That's kind of bog standard views, I'd imagine, if you've got as many audience or followers as that. I think my biggest video, very recently, it got 154 million.
Wow.
And believe it or not, it's actually a video that I've recycled. I'd posted it, I think, a year or two ago. And I tend to recycle videos every so often because, like, as my following's grown, I kind of go, do you know what? Some people haven't seen this, so
Yeah.
if I'm a bit stuck for content, it's like, oh, I can just kind of pop this out if I've not had time to film or get anything new. So, and it didn't get anywhere near that amount of views. I think it was maybe like 50,000 that the original video got, and the latest one's 154 million. So like, you never know what is going to go viral.
No, it's kind of difficult if you're a brand or a content creator, because if you're trying to get those videos that gain that traction, take on a life of their own, it can sometimes be the ones that have been off the cuff, not taken very long, that go viral, and the ones that you've spent weeks planning can sometimes really underdeliver.
Oh, definitely. I've put a lot of effort into some of my videos, as in, like, it's maybe taken me a few hours to film it and edit and post it. And it's got I say next to no, most of my videos tend to get at least 20,000 views,
Sure.
which is like, I think that's like really good going as a general video. So it'll get that, and then I can have like a really lazy video it's taken me 10 minutes to make that actually kicks off, and it's like, I like, you can't really win. But I don't think it's about trying to go viral. It's just getting something that interests your audience, but really you want to be hitting your relevant audience, not just like the Joe Blog general public.
And this is the thing. So what the video that got to your 150 something million, what was the content of that video? What was it all about for people that haven't seen it?
So it's literally a video of me doing checkerboard quarter marks on a horse's bum, and then a little clip of the finished quarter marks. That's it.
Which is, I mean, checkerboard quarter marks, when they're done well, are a work of art, just for the record. I think they're amazing. So did you posted it and you thought, hopefully this will help people? At what point did you think, oh, this is doing very well?
Once it got to like probably 500,000, I was like, oh, this is doing like really well, like it's kicking off. And it kind of sat like that for a day or two, and then it just kept shooting up, like it was going up like 1 million views every hour or so.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, all right, this one's gone viral. And I was getting loads of notifications saying people had shared it and shared to their stories and stuff like that. So it's cool to see how quickly something can go, but it's also a bit of a pain, because you end up with a lot of like the kind of trolls and like quite annoying commenters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I ended up, it took me loads of time, but I ended up having to go and delete a load of comments because they were like rude or derogatory, or like claiming horse abuse because I was brushing this horse's hair into a pattern. And
oh god,
and then in the end I actually turned off the comments because I was getting so annoyed with it, and the comments are still turned off at the moment. And I got an influx of followers, which again, like, you think is really good, but when you go through them, I mean, a fraction of them were actually horsey people. The other load were just people that seemed to follow for the sake of it. So they're then not relevant to my audience, or to me to have as my audience. So I then had to like sit and try and like weed out the people that was like, right, you don't really need to be here.
Sure.
So that took up quite a lot of time, and there's probably still a chunk that I've not managed to get as well. So like, going viral sounds cool, but it's a pain. Like,
yeah, I think a lot of people, their real aim when it comes to social media is to go viral. And I did a video on this a little while ago going, actually, that shouldn't be the aim. It should be putting out the best content you can for your audience. And obviously you hope as many people as possible see it. But when it gets to that point, you said, when it appeals to your audience, they get it, you get nice comments, you get people that understand it. It seems mad to me as a horsey person that you're getting negative comments for doing quarter marks. You haven't got a horse that's overbent, and you're not doing things that do cause issues with horsey and non-horsey people. So how do you deal with that? Because I'm guessing as well, because you've had viral content before, this isn't the first time you've come up against these sort of comments that as a horse person you're looking going, what do you mean?
So I'd say most of the time I end up just deleting the comment. Like, I'm quite handy with my block and delete buttons. I can do it with my eyes closed now. I've hit them that much, I think. Some people, I do sometimes think it's worth having like a conversation with them online to educate them, but they're very few and far between. I'd say most of them is just block and delete. Like, if they're going to speak in that manner or have that sort of negative mindset, like, they're not worth my time and they don't deserve to see my content that I've put effort into making. So I just get rid of them. And it doesn't bother me. Like, it's not something that I get upset or hung up on at all. Like, I kind of, like, that's just people, isn't it? And they're behind a screen and they're probably very unhappy with something in their lives, and that's how they're going to take it out on other people, because, like, we're probably not going to get any backlash, or not much backlash.
There's actually something I saw on TikTok this morning. There's a girl I follow, and I feel like she's quite a kind of fitness person. She looks very muscly, and someone had put up a comment about, someone had basically posted a comment on one of her pieces of content about what a fat heifer she was, and really negative. And she'd put that on the screen, and then kind of done a video going, hey, you can see that I'm huge, you can see that I'm massive, look at me. And I'm looking completely, I mean, I was half asleep thinking, what, she's not huge or massive. At which point she just sort of went, I really hope you're okay, because you've put so many of these horrible comments on. I'm genuinely worried about you and your mental health, because that's not normal behavior. And I thought, fair play, good on you. But you have to be in quite a secure place yourself, I think, to do that. Because if you're having a really awful day, if you are having mental health struggles, if you are anxious, and you've got someone who's then laying into you about anything online, especially if it's a kind of prolonged attack, that's a lot to deal with no, you're not provoking these people.
No, like, I've got friends with like anxiety and stuff like that, and it's really soul destroying to see how they struggle to cope with like negativity like that. Whereas, like, I find it very easy. I just kind of go, oh, you're not worth my time, and I'll quite happily block and delete them. But I think some people maybe feel bad for doing that, or don't feel they can. Like, it's an interesting like topic, like hearing how different people cope with stuff like that, and how much to heart some people can take it when, like, people that are giving you like negativity or abuse or whatever, like, what they say means absolutely nothing. Like, especially if you don't know them. Like, I can have people on the other side of the world and I'm like, you literally know nothing about me, and what you say does not matter, and it does not affect my life in the slightest.
Were you quite surprised the first time you had these kind of comments? I think when I've had them before, it's the particularly the first few times, you're kind of just a bit taken aback and you're not quite sure what on earth is going on.
Yeah, the I'm trying to think. A lot of the stuff I get slagged for is, like, see, cutting a horse's mane, for example. I used to get quite a lot of comments from like traditionalists, saying like, you can't cut horses' manes with scissors. You should pull. If you don't pull a horse's mane, it's lazy and all that sort of stuff. And when I was getting comments like that, I was like, oh my God, they're actually for real. Like, people still think stuff like that. And I used to get, or I say I used to, I get comments like when I'm plaiting a horse, for example, you're doing it too tight, that horse is so unhappy, and why would you do that? The flies are going to attack it and stuff like that. And you're like, you don't know why I'm plaiting the horse. The horse is standing happily, half asleep because it's getting attention. Like, you obviously don't know how to read an animal or the situation, or know why we're doing stuff a certain way.
Is it worse when you get comments from people who are horsey?
Yes. Like, the general public, I know they don't know any better, so they're just kind of coming out with what they think is the educated answer, when in most cases it probably isn't. Whereas horsey people, when they come out with negative comments that are probably outdated, like they may have been correct at one time, but no longer apply, they're the ones I go, oh my God, there's people that are so stuck in their box, like they don't think there's more than one correct way to do something. Like, they're so stuck in being traditional, or the way they learned is the only correct way, and every other way is absolute nonsense.
It's a concern, I think, with the industry as a whole, actually. There are lots of incredibly brilliant people in there, and I'm just being honest, but there are a lot of people who are quite traditional, and I see this actually in lots of different ways. A few months ago, quite a few months ago now, I saw quite a well-known rider really having a go about an influencer, about kind of how dare this jumped up young person, this. And I was really appalled, because this was somebody who was well known, who had an audience of people listening to them, and they were having a go at essentially a fairly young girl. For she wasn't doing anything wrong. I follow this other person as well, and they actually do a brilliant job. And I thought, this is that traditional. I think tradition can be really, really positive, but that traditional bias, I want to say, kind of coming out, and really not progressive. And I found it really sad, actually, because the particular person they were being very negative about is doing amazing things for the industry. And to be honest, if they can't see that, I think that's a real concern. But I think there is this disconnect, and I do think sometimes these potentially outdated attitudes can actually hurt the sport, not just inside but outside as well. What do you think about that?
No, definitely. Like, there's, like, I'd been thinking about this in the, like, run up to us chatting, and there's, like, so many things that we still do in the equestrian community, whether it's like while we're riding, while we're handling the horses, grooming them, how we care for them, that it's very much like, oh, we do it this way because that's the way we've always done it.
Yeah.
And it's like, I tend to find it, unfortunately, more with the slightly older generation of horsey folk. They don't tend to want to change how they do stuff so much. So trying to convince them that there's like new practices, new ways to do things, it's so difficult. And it's obviously like, it is such a negative effect on the sport. And like, we see this like coming under the social license on like the pentathlon at Tokyo 2020. So a couple of the eventers, was it badminton? A couple of them got called out for not pulling up their horses in the cross country.
Yeah.
The way we use double bridles, spurs and dressage, roll cart, like, there's so much. It's like, oh, but that's the way we've always done it, or we've done it this way and it works, so it's a good idea to do it, when it's not. And it obviously can still get passed on to younger generation and the up and coming grooms and riders, but we need to try and change all that. And it's really, really slow in changing. Like everything in the equestrian world is about 20, 30 years behind what it should be.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you on that at all. And I think that saying that what we do now is okay because that's the way it's always been done isn't good enough. I think that there are, we are more aware of things now than we were that many years ago. And we can look at this across the entire world. If you look at how things were 50, 60, 70, 100 years ago, we've moved on. People have become more educated. They've learned more on every different aspect of life. And it seems crazy that we still hang on to these traditions, that perhaps there is a much better way to do things.
Oh, definitely. Even with like, so obviously my niche is grooming. It's changed a huge amount, and like I've been like kind of working in the industry since I was 16. So that's like just over 15 years I've been working in the industry, but I've had horses since I was 5. So that's 25 years in the industry. I can still remember when I first started, people still had New Zealand rugs. You clipped horses for depending on how much work they were in. So like if you had a little fat cob, it only got a bib clip because your rugs were probably awful. And you looked at the horse's routine as to what clip you gave it. The only horses that would get full or hunter clips were like hunt horses or competition horses, but weren't out during the night. They'd be stuck in the stable for 99% of the time.
Yeah.
Whereas now the rugs and everything have upgraded a huge amount. So you can have a horse with a hunter clip basically live out with a warm enough, properly waterproof rug. So that's like a huge difference in 20 years. But you still have these very traditionalist people that will say, right, your fat hairy cob hacks out twice a week, it doesn't need more than a bib clip, when it's like, actually, if the horse is overweight, it's struggling in the heat, it's standing sweating in the stable, so why aren't we giving it like a bigger sort of clip? Why don't we give it a hunter clip so it's more comfortable? And like even basic practices like that have changed a huge amount in a very slow rate of time.
Yeah.
Relatively.
And do you think, I mean, obviously the social license and social license to operate, it is something that it's coming for our industry, and I think it's really naive to think it isn't. What do you think can be done to help this issue from what you've seen?
So obviously, like a lot of the kind of spotlight is on the top riders at the moment, and like the big, like there's a recent thing with Helgstrand's, a film crew got in, or not a film crew, like an undercover groom got in and had filmed behind the scenes. So it's obviously like a lot of the kind of top people in the spotlight that we see televised see it, but everyone that is posting videos and photos of their horses on social media is very much under that spotlight as well. It's all public domain unless you've got like a private account, for example. So everyone really, really needs to take a look at what they're posting, what they're saying. Like I've seen so many people, I'm going to use pulling manes as an example.
Yeah.
That's a traditional way to do a horse's mane. Some people are for it, some people are against it. I've seen people comment stuff such as, it's fine to do it because horses don't have nerves in their mane, so they don't feel it. And I can 100% assure everyone, horses do have nerves in their mane and they can definitely feel it. So you're getting a lot of people that are quite uneducated or have maybe heard it from one source and take it as gospel, then sharing what they know. So there's a lot of like kind of false information online, which everyone should know, of course, but not everyone researches properly like the facts they're sharing or reading. So it's really difficult to like, how do you even start to like police is the wrong word, but like manage what people are posting and sharing and what the public are seeing. I definitely look at other accounts and I'll watch a video or something and go, oh my God, I would never do it that way. Or, oh my God, I can't believe someone did that to their horse and they were so stupid as to do something dangerous or unfair to the horse. Like, so like, how do you manage people to post the correct things? Like, I can't fathom how to begin there.
Do you think education would help? And I don't mean this that people are uneducated, but I think in the horsey space, we say things and we use terminology that isn't kind of acceptable. If you could see me, I would do inverted commas around that word, in normal life. So for example, talking about, you carry a whip on your horse. Whip isn't the best word. People have an image of, if you're carrying a whip, you're whipping your horse with it, for example.
Yeah.
And some of the words and like some of the terminology that we use in the equestrian space, my mind's gone completely blank from all of them now. I think for somebody who isn't horsey, it all looks a whole lot more brutal than it is. I mean, I carry a whip when I hack my horse. I don't use it, but it's there in case I'm about to sit on a car or she's about to sit on a car. I would rather just remind her tactfully that we need to maybe not jump in front of the car than be on the front of someone's car.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, I've got a mare, so she wouldn't let me get away with a thing. I adore her, but she's a battle axe. And she's a cob. She, forever ago, when I used to work with event horses, we used to pull their manes, and she had to be sedated to have her mane pulled, until one day I was like, why are we not just cutting it with scissors? So, and whether it's proper or not, she's very happy to have her mane cut with scissors. But if you try and pull it, she will crush you against a wall, and she means it.
Oh yeah, rightly so. I
I
don't
can
blame
understand that.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's in part perhaps an education piece. In part, I think that people who are equestrian need to, in some ways, not be as protective if someone's asking a genuine question. I think we can have some people, for example, you said online, just trolls who are not educated, they're not horsey, they're just there to cause trouble. But then if you had somebody who was not horsey say to you, why are you pulling that horse's hair out? Doesn't that hurt it? At that point, is that a good opportunity for a horsey person to say, okay, let's use a scissors example. Why are you cutting that horse's hair? Doesn't it feel it? And you can say, well, actually, this is why I do it. I think sometimes our first kind of reaction is a defense, and it doesn't always need to be.
I think with a lot of the comments that are in my case, I think I can mostly tell if it's someone trying to be wide or if it's someone asking a genuine question. And if it's a genuine question, I'm always more than happy to answer. And if I don't get there, usually one of my followers answers for me, which is really great. But the ones that are there just to stir stuff up, like, I don't think they're worth talking to.
No, and they won't be educated, will they? As in, you could show a load of papers to prove a point and they still wouldn't believe you, because that's not why they're there. They're not there to learn.
Exactly. You can say it till you're blue in the face and they're just like, nope, nope, nope. And what's the point in wasting your time on that person?
Completely. But I do think there are people who perhaps aren't horsey but ask questions. I've seen it on social. Someone's, fly masks are always a fun one. Why is that horse blindfolded? And you think, well, actually, if you weren't horsey and you looked at that horse, you would think it was blindfolded. It's not, but you'd think it was, wouldn't you? And then we, as just horse owners, have the option to educate the people who are genuinely interested in this, to say, oh no, actually, it's not a blindfold. What it does is it protects the horse's eyes from this, and this, and you can still see through it, rather than kind of insulting them and implying that they're stupid for not knowing actually quite a weird thing that we do with our horses.
No, it's definitely like our responsibility to educate where we can.
Mm.
Like, yeah, when it's appropriate. And like you said, some people definitely go in the defense to start.
Yeah.
But being able to, like, I mean, there's probably some comments that it sounds quite negative, but you can be like, oh, actually, it's just this, and like, don't take it totally negative. It's so hard to convey like tone in a comment. So
Yeah.
I suppose it is very easy to read something negatively, and like trolls and stuff is such a big thing, so it's probably like very well ingrained into most people's heads, but it's probably having a go at you in some way, shape or form, instead of a genuine honest answer.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think I had a comment a few days ago, and it was actually from someone that I know really well and I like. I read the comment, I didn't quite understand it. And I just what you've said there, and I thought, actually, if I didn't know who it was from, I would have thought they were being offensive or aggressive or kind of having a bit of a go at me. Actually, they weren't. They were just putting their point of view across, but they probably didn't word it quite how I would have worded it.
No,
And therefore I've jumped to that conclusion. But because I knew who it was, I was like, oh no, they're a good egg. They wouldn't. It's and I read it a few more times. But often we go, no, you're being unpleasant.
yeah. But a lot of people, they tend to, like, I found on my posts, if it's, for example, I've cut a horse's mane, they'll comment, I don't like it, it's too short. I like it natural, that's wrong. And you're just like, right, did you really need to share that opinion? Like, in that way, I'm totally
Yeah.
like, you know what, you're entitled to your opinion. And I know some people like their horses mane shorter, or they like them longer, or they like them natural. And actually last week I got probably one of the first comments. I was like, that was so easy. It was like an extra sentence the person needed to write. Again, it was on the mane cutting video. She said, I don't like the sort of pulled mane look at all. I prefer natural, but you've done a really good job. And I
Well,
was like,
that's nice,
not
isn't it?
that, and it's not that I need validation for like, have I done a good job or not? But I was like, that's really nice that you've gone, not my taste. I like natural, but I recognise that you've done this in a nice style or fashion, or the horse is happy. Like, I recognise that, like, the positive side of it. But everyone, it's like negative. It tends to be either negative or positive. There's never a kind of that, like, my dad would call it like a shit sandwich.
Yes.
When he was learning his managerial stuff, like, if you're telling someone off, you kind of go, you did this wrong, but this is the positive bit. Like, they all tend to miss out the bread and just give you the nasty filling in the middle, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Absolutely. And I think again, if someone had done, if you walked onto someone's yard and it was something that you would never do to your horse, but they were really pleased, you would probably, you could say, if you were that way inclined, oh, I tend to have it natural, but I like what you've done, if they
Mhm.
had done a genuinely good job. But I think online people don't follow that whole process through. It's not that two-way conversation. It's, here's my comment and I'm away.
Yeah, aye, totally. And like you're saying, like, here's the comment and I'm away. Most of them don't ever come back,
No.
which I think some of the other content creators can forget. Like, some of these people were literally there for that video, for that 10-second video, and you'll never see them again or hear from them again because they've not followed you. Like, they could be like anyone, and that's how irrelevant their comment and their opinion is. It's lasted as long as it took them to watch that video and type out that negative comment, and it's away. Like, it's so, yeah, fleeting.
There's a really good quote. I can't remember who it's by, but basically it says, don't take criticism from someone you wouldn't take advice from.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really important thing to try and remember on social. These people that are just appearing out of the woodwork, leaving something foul and going away, you wouldn't ask their opinion or for their advice on a situation. But it does hurt when people leave negative comments. It can really, really hurt. And there's something the way our brain works, whereas we take on the negative and kind of discount the positive, somehow it's not as valuable. And that's crazy, because actually they're the people that are really on your team and really get you and want to see more and are supportive.
Yeah, it's a shame because I feel like that's the way like kind of human brains tend to work. Like if you think back to, I don't know, you could have had a party or something that you went to and had the best night ever, but one cringy thing happens. I could guarantee when you think of that party, the cringe bit
Yeah.
is the thing that pops into your head. And that's kind of like, and you'll forget about all the positive stuff that happens and you kind of dwell on that cringy thing or the negative thing that might have happened. And that kind of goes on to like social media as well. Like a lot of the comments that tend to pop into my head are negative ones that people have said. And it's not because I'm hung up on them, it's just they kind of stick in my head because I've read them 5 times going, should I even bother answering this? Am I just going to delete them? Whereas like I get so many positive ones, and I know I get loads of positive ones, but being able to like rhyme off what people said doesn't always, like, they don't tend to stick as much because the negative ones stick more.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And I'm sure like most of the other content creators will probably have similar experiences as well.
Oh, completely. I do think it's the way that we're wired as people to, as you said, to do that. Which is rather annoying because there's lots of really positive things about social media. I mean, what's been the real positive for you about using social media and growing your platforms like you have?
Probably meeting some of the people that I have online, and I mean most of them I haven't actually met in person, but I'd say I've got quite a lot of like online friends that I wouldn't have met otherwise. There's a few other clippers that I'm in contact with like all over the UK. So it's good fun, like kind of bouncing new ideas and techniques and like reviews on machines and stuff off each other. I get a lot of really nice private messages and comments as well from my followers saying like, thank you so much for showing us this video. I've always wondered how to do that, or I tried that on my horse and it's so much easier. And so that they're probably the 2 main things that I kind of go like, oh, I feel like I've made a bit of a difference with what I've done.
I mean, I know of 2 people who, you know them both. One is Di Fisher, All the King's Horses, and one is
Oh,
Claire Williams from Beta, who are both obsessed with your platting and have done the plats on their horses. Is it something scallop? Oh, come on, brain.
yeah, reverse scallop plaits. Yeah.
That's it. And actually, Di had a video that went viral of her doing your plat. So,
Yes, she did. And she was so lovely and tagged me in it as well. And she did like an absolutely amazing job. And then Claire from Beta got me to do like a live plaiting demo. So that's on the Beta YouTube channel. So that was really cool.
and I know that I know it's these kind of things. Normally, people wouldn't be able to learn that because you just do the plaiting the way that you've always done it. Whereas actually, these really cool things that you're showing, I know of people who have genuinely gone, I'm going to do that on my horse, and gone off and done it. So being able to spread that and, you know, give that enjoyment and that learning that to people must be really cool as well.
Yeah, like it definitely, like, so like talking about like manes specifically, obviously like the traditional thing was we pull the mane, it has to be a certain length and a certain thickness in order to do the plaits this certain way. That really doesn't work for like the majority of horses.
No.
Like there are, I still pull sometimes, but I will only do it on horses that genuinely don't mind it. And they tend to be, I've got a couple of Irish drafts that I do for my clients, and their horses' noses start twitching, like, you know, when you scratch them in the proper itchy bit,
Yeah.
and their nose starts going and they're like, oh, this is great. They pull those faces and I can 100% go, this horse does not mind me doing this. Whereas I have other horses, like you're saying with your mare, has to get sedated to get his mane pulled, otherwise it's going to cram you into a wall and break your rib cage. Like, why would I put that horse through that amount of discomfort? Like, it's obviously not happy about it. So what can I do to change that? So there's obviously like, right, you can cut the manes, but then that can sometimes make it difficult to plait, or you can go, actually, I could just do a whole different plaiting style so it works for that horse's mane instead of trying to make that horse's mane work for me.
Yeah. And
So
actually, what I've kind of got from speaking to you, and obviously your account, is it's very much what is best for the horse in all situations.
yeah, like the horse's welfare and comfort is like top priority, and sometimes it's great because you can make them look absolutely amazing. So like you can get a hairy cob and go like, oh, I can clip it and it can keep its long mane and I do this style of plaits and it looks absolutely amazing. Or you get your welfare cases where you go, do you know what? It's not going to be a smart clip, but the horse is going to be so much more comfortable because it needs to be treated for lice, mites, whatever skin condition it might have. So it isn't always about making the horses look pretty. It's, can I make them comfortable? And like obviously like plaiting isn't a necessary thing, but it's like, oh, we still do it for shows. It can have benefits. If your horse has a really long mane and it gets tangled in your hands in the reins, it's actually handy to have it plaited up out the way.
Yeah.
So like there is benefits to like the majority of things I do, and then some of the other stuff it's just aesthetics. Like quarter marks aren't going to affect the horse in any way, shape or form. That is purely aesthetic. So
But I think that's a really key point there, but they won't affect the horse in any way, shape or form.
yeah, definitely the idea is everything makes the horse happy and comfortable, and like grooming should be a pleasurable experience for the horse.
Yeah.
Like I get lots of comments on my videos, like my big mare Tia, the black one.
Yes.
She loves getting attention, absolutely loves it. As long as I'm touching her, she will stand half asleep and I can do anything to her. And I get people going, oh, it must be sedated. How did you get that horse to stand so still? And I'm going, like, she's so happy just getting pampered.
Yeah.
And I'm not doing anything to make her uncomfortable. And that's the way all horses should be. And I can never fully get my head round why they're not like we've got 4 horses on my little yard and every single one of them will stand still while I do clipping, plaiting, bathing, anything. Whereas I do see other horses like going like they're obviously not enjoying it for whatever reason. So yeah.
It's mad that people jump to the conclusion of not that that horse is happy, but that it's been drugged.
Yeah, like it doesn't seem to cross their mind that the horse is just content. Like, oh, and then I'll get people going, oh, it's dead easy when they stand still. I'd like to see you do it on a horse that's jumping about. And I'm like, but if I do it on a horse that's jumping about, you're not really going to be able to see what I'm doing, because the idea of the videos is it's a tutorial. And I can probably guarantee I'll get bashed for doing it on a horse that looks unhappy. So
Yes.
like people will be going like, oh, that horse is upset that you're doing that to it. Like, why are you doing it? You should stop. And it's like, oh, I can't really win whatever I do. Like,
But also, don't you think people have also missed the mark that one of the reasons possibly why those 4 horses that are on your yard that have you dealing with them are happy and content is because of all the work you've put in, gaining their trust and their confidence.
yeah, and I don't think that'll cross the majority of people's minds. Like they just, I don't know, we've got a really quiet yard, it's not busy, the horses are always really relaxed, so it's like a really nice environment for them. Anything I do to them isn't causing them pain or discomfort, so they've got no reason to get upset. Whereas you could be on a busy yard where the horse is all like always a wee bit on edge because it's so busy. You could be trying to pull its mane, which is making it more upset. It's getting upset about getting plaited because it thinks you're going to start pulling its mane. Like there's situations that people just don't seem to read as to why their horse is acting in a certain way.
No.
And then again, that I suppose that comes under like social license, and like they'll just go, oh, my horse is just highly strung and it's like this naturally, when it's like actually maybe the situation doesn't really suit your horse and a different situation would relax it more. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot to think about, isn't there? And I think from the way that our sport and our industry is perceived by the outside world, we do need to really take a bit of a look at ourselves. And I think what you said as well, everyone, absolutely, the spotlight is on those top riders, but every time we post a picture or we share a video, what are we saying to somebody who is perhaps looking at that with non-equestrian eyes? And how could they interpret it?
Yeah, and people need to think about that a lot more, a huge amount more.
No, I'd absolutely agree with that.
Yeah.
So obviously we started off talking about the viralness. Virality, not viralness. What advice would you give to people who are on social media and it is their dream to go viral?
I think don't aim to go viral. Like, it happens sporadically. It's all the algorithm and stuff. You never know what is going to go viral. It's not all it's cracked up to be. Like, to be honest, I find it a bit of a pain, more than anything. Like, I do want to get good views on my videos, but I want the right people to see my content. So to be honest, I think you're better off making content that's relevant to your followers, that will hopefully, like, your followers will share with other horsey people in the community. Like, the equestrian community is still very niche. Everything in it is so behind, like, the likes of the beauty or sport or food community, and it's not as relevant to, like, the big wide world as, like, beauty, food and sport is. So I, like, think about your audience more than going viral. Like, just keep it relevant, keep it nice, in terms of, like, make sure you're not giving out false information, make sure it's educated. Like, it's really difficult because I think all the stuff I post, all my horses look very happy with what I'm doing, but you'll still get negative stuff, people saying that you're cruel for doing X, Y, and Z, and the horse is obviously unhappy when it's not. But I, like, basically going viral is not what it's cracked up to be, I think.
And I think that's a really, really strong point. I think the other thing I'd like to say, or I'd like to ask you for your tips and advice on, is if anyone is listening and they have had those negative comments, what's the best advice for people dealing with them?
Honestly, just block and delete. I think it's the easiest solution. Everyone's got the block and delete button, and it's so much easier said than done to say don't get hung up on it. Like, I think I've got a very, very thick skin and not a lot bothers me, but I think I have that quite naturally. Like, it's not something I've had to, like, kind of work my way up to having that mindset. So if you're struggling with, like, kind of like, dwelling on the negative comments and the trolls and stuff, like, there's definitely people out there that you can, like, chat to like, for advice, like, how should you deal with it. And, like, just remember, it is, as we said before, like, a kind of fleeting comment that you probably will have got. And if there's somebody, like, because I do know that you get people that are kind of ongoing bullies that will keep attacking you from various accounts, like, you can report them to Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, whatever. There are different avenues that you can go down to try and get rid of these, like, consistent trolls. But the inconsistent ones, they literally mean nothing to your life. So block and delete, and just, easier said than done, don't dwell on what they've said, because it really means nothing in the grand scheme of things, especially if you've done your research onto what you've posted, that it's all correct and horses are happy, etc.
I think that's really good advice. I think as well, you know, what you said earlier is that these people are perhaps not the happiest people in their own lives, and it's not you, it's them.
Yeah.
Not okay behavior. Is there anything else you would like to share before I ask you all the places that people can find you online?
Um, I don't think so. I feel like we've covered like a lot of stuff.
We've gone
And
for it. We've gone big today. I like it.
like I feel like this was quite a like fairly deep one with not too many laughs in it.
I know. It's all right though. It's all good. It's balance. It's balance. And they are really important subjects. I think it is important to talk about the negatives of going viral because it is something that a lot of people aim at. I think it is important to talk about social license. And I think it's really great to share experiences because I think it helps people feel a lot less alone. It's social media can be very isolating because you're sat on your own at home behind your computer screen or your phone, and being able to share experiences like people from your good self, I think it can be so helpful for people.
Yeah, it's not just like the riders that are getting it, grooms are getting it, everyone's under the same umbrella, and we all need to kind of work towards the same end goal, but there's obviously a lot of different avenues for us to take for that, and everyone's responsible for it. So like there's no one way that we can say like how do we educate people how to control and manage what's on social media and what we do on all our own yards and stuff. It's such a deep topic. I
know what slightly lighter thing we can talk about.
Oh
Not
yes.
that long ago, you posted a wedding photograph, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
And you were on your amazing black horse there, weren't you?
Yeah,
That was an amazing photograph.
Yeah, so my photographer was actually a girl I went to high school with, and bizarrely we'd never spoken for like the entirety of high school, and we ended up
Okay.
online, not for any negative reason. It was just like we were in different friend groups, and we ended up connecting online, and we are like amazing good friends now. And she's been doing photography for quite a few years. She's absolutely phenomenal. I'm going to do a little tag. She's called IRH Photography, and she's tagged on my Instagram on a fairly regular basis. So she was obviously the lady I was going to ask to do my wedding photo shoot. So she came for the wedding day. We got married, and this sounds extremely gothic. It's like a little abandoned graveyard about a minute away from my house, and it just looked beautiful. Like there was like a few little like crumbly gravestones, but all the grass was overgrown, and there was like loads of bluebells and like hanging ivy and stuff. So it actually looked really like picturesque and pretty and like a little bit wild. And a couple of days later she came back and we did a bit of a like wreck the dress photo shoot. So she came up to the yard, and we were just going to do some standing photos with like me and my husband Rab, and the horse and the dog. And we kind of went, oh bugger it, let's just get on the horse. And I was like, I'm not really sure what she's going to make of the dress on her bum.
No, because I've just got the pictures up. It was a huge dress, wasn't it? Lots of, is it sort of twill material?
Yeah, and it's got I think it's called a puddle. I'm not sure, but it's mega long. Like it kind of puddles around my feet, and it's got a train on it.
Oh wow.
So I had like my riding leggings and my boots on, and then my dress on top. So I'd like kind of hiked my dress round my waist, so I looked like I had a big donut around me. Very awkwardly got on my horse, and then I let go of the dress, and I kind of underestimated just how long it was. So I thought, oh, it'll be like a quarter rug, like a quarter sheet. It'll just kind of like drop over her bum a wee bit. And it just kind of kept falling, and it almost touched her fetlocks. And I kind of went, oh my God, what if she flips because it's touching her legs? And Isla's there to possibly get a photo of me getting like catapulted into next week. But luckily Tia just went, I'm a model, it's all about me. And she just walked around with this dress like billowing a wee bit in the wind, didn't bat an eyelid at it. I got handed like my bouquet of flowers, which she wasn't bothered about, and she just stood like an absolute angel for this photo shoot. And I was so chuffed with her and so happy that I dismounted of my own accord, like, and not
Yes.
because she decided otherwise. So I didn't entirely wreck my dress. It's still in one piece.
It is lovely.
But
I've just seen the picture actually of you on the ground, and there is a lot of fabric there.
Yes. So I don't know how I underestimated how long it would be, but I did. But that was a good photo shoot day. It was good fun. But definitely like check the length of your dresses and stuff before you get on your horse. And obviously I didn't have a riding hat on as well, because like I don't agree with riding without a hat, but so there was another like, please don't do anything, because I obviously don't have head protection on right now.
She looks very happy. She's quite big, isn't she?
Yeah, she's 17 hands. She's
good
quite
job it wasn't a shorter horse, because it would have been properly on the floor.
Oh god, yeah. I think if it was like kind of 14, 15 hands, it would have been dragging.
I love it. It's gorgeous photographs. I definitely urge, if you're listening, you haven't seen them, go and have a scroll back through. And there's lots of amazing photographs anyway on Niki's account, but the wedding ones are really beautiful.
I need to try and share some of those again. We were actually talking about doing some more photo shoots, like kind of for Isla's portfolio.
Brilliant.
She's not a equestrian photographer. She's more like kind of portrait and wedding, but she's very much an animal lady. So she like just getting to spend time with the horses is great for her. She's actually an example of somebody that doesn't like she's not horsey at all, but she comes in the yard and it's like playing 20 million questions, like, why do you do this, what's that, what's this for, and like getting to explain that to someone who's totally not horsey is great, and saying like, oh, it used to be done this way, but we like I do it this way because XYZ. And she definitely had a set view on certain areas of horse sport, but when I can explain it, she's like, oh, actually that's kind of changed my opinion on it. Or
good on her for being so receptive and listening.
Yeah, but she can see, like, when she comes to the yard with me, like, she sees how happy and relaxed the horses are, and it's like, well, like, we're obviously doing something right if the horses are as happy as they are.
Definitely. Can you tell us all the places where people can find you online?
So I have Facebook, which is Baxter Equine Services, Instagram, Baxter Equine Services, TikTok is, I think that's Baxter Equine Services as well, and I have a YouTube channel which I'm hopefully going to be working on a bit more, and that's Niki Baxter Horse Groom on YouTube.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's been brilliant to chat, and I will continue to follow and be wowed by all your skills. But thank you very much for sharing more about the kind of behind the scenes as well, and your view on everything that's going on.
No, thank you so much for having me. I've thoroughly enjoyed it.